Welcome to Matter of Fact from New York City. There was lots of focus on voter disenfranchisement during the midterm elections, but in Florida, voters approved a change to the state's constitution to restore the voting rights of nearly 1.5 million people with past felony convictions. Florida was one of 3 states that permanently stripped felons of their voting rights. The others are Kentucky and Iowa. But Florida had what legal experts say was one of the most punitive disenfranchisement policies in the country. Marlon Peterson is a former convict who was incarcerated for 10 years for his role in a robbery that left 2 people dead in New York. Since his release, he's become an activist. He joins Columbia law professor Bernard Harcourt. Marlon Peterson and Professor Harcourt, it's so nice to have you with me. Marlon, let's start with you. When did you decide to become an activist around this issue?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a decision a conscious decision. It sort of came into that. When I came home in 2009, I was heavily involved with work around young folks, but particularly around the intersection between criminal justice and immigration justice, which hadn't really become a big issue as it is now. I think that's part of the angle that's left out, is about how people with convictions can impact our communities and electoral politics. They've
been struggling with this issue for a long time in Florida. I mean, literally, some have been working on it in terms of lawsuits for more than a decade. What do you think was the thing that made the difference this time around?
Oh, activism. Without question, activism made the difference. There were folks on the ground who were, when it comes to Amendment 4, who were on the ground, formerly incarcerated folks. Desmond Meade is one of the people, the leaders there, Dream Defenders. There were folks who were on the ground in community, organizing and making people aware that this is an issue.
When did the issue really start, Professor? I mean, I know we often think of it as a very modern day issue, but actually it's Civil War era, kind of.
It goes way back. I mean, if you look at the state of Alabama, for instance, they enacted disenfranchisement laws in 1901 in their constitution. In fact, the United States Supreme Court, in a case in 1985, Hunter versus Alabama, basically, held, and this was a Rehnquist decision, so, and Justice Rehnquist was not exactly a liberal at the time, held that it was intentional discrimination when they implemented the disenfranchisement rules in 1901.
There are plenty of people who would say, hey, listen, you're formerly incarcerated, you were a felon, this is the price to pay for committing a heinous crime that puts you behind bars.
When people say that, or offer that comment about, you don't deserve the right to vote, folks who are formerly incarcerated pay taxes, they have children in schools, they care about their communities, we care about our communities, so we should have a right to participate in it fully.
So how much do you expect the electorate will grow in the state of Florida, and I guess, which direction will it grow?
Right. So the estimates range. The high estimates are about 1,000,004 persons who will regain their right to vote. And the low estimate seems to be around 800,000, I think. So it's somewhere in that block.
So race underpins a lot of this entire conversation. More felons in Florida or ex-felons in Florida are white. I mean, right. 70%, right? So it actually helps the white ex-felons.
Right, yeah. So the history, has changed over time with mass incarceration in this country, which predominantly affected African American and Hispanic populations, but also it's mass incarceration, which means that there are a lot of people who got locked up. I mean, we've got 2.2 million Americans behind bars right now. It's an enormous, massive quantity. As a result, there are also a lot of white Americans who get caught up in this. And in Florida, the estimates are that it's approximately 70% white and 30% non-white.
This is a national issue. There's 6.1 million people in this country who can't vote because of a conviction. And if you were able to put people back onto the voting blocks immediately after they completed a sentence, that would put 4.7 million people back into electoral politics. We want to be involved with the electoral process. And I think, to answer that question of whether we will vote or not, I think the best answer is to give us a chance.
Marlon Peterson and Professor Bernard Harcourt, nice to have you both. Appreciate it.